Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Miner. Welcome into the NIL Lounge. I'm your host with the NIL Report, and today our guest is Claumy Jean-Francois, wide receiver at Mercer University. Claumy, thanks so much for joining. How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Andrew?
Doing real well. I know you were just talking, mentioning to me how football season is kind of ramping up the training, and it's right around the corner. And so I know everybody's really excited about that. But being this is your second year at Mercer, what excites you most about the season ahead?
Well, we have a big schedule that's coming up. We actually have one of the biggest games coming up, which is Alabama. We play them over there in Tusculum at 1 p.m. That's kind of our second to last game before our season ending with Furman, which is one of our biggest opponents in our conference. And we have another two non-conference games that we are so excited for, including Bethune-Cookman and Princeton. So those are kind of one of the biggest schedules we have ever since football started at Mercer, and it's one of the biggest exciting things for me as well since I do plan on starting this year, and I am really excited just to ball out and do what I have to do, and put my part into the team and do what I have to do to kind of excel us to, I would say, a championship, a SoCon championship, because that's one of our biggest goals as a team and for myself. And hopefully, competing very hard in the national tournament. So
Yeah, no, that's a big close to your season at Denny Bryan Stadium to face the Tide, and then close it out with Furman, which could have, hopefully big SoCon conference implications for you guys. Furman won it last year, and they went, I think, to the quarterfinals of the FCS tournament that you mentioned. So that, two really good strong teams to close out the season there. Um, Plummy, if you don't mind, just quickly introduce yourself. Tell to those that might be watching that maybe aren't familiar with yourself or Mercer.
I'm a senior at Mercer University. One of the things outside of football, I am an electrical engineering major, and I appreciate just being a part of the STEM program at my institution because it's so big over there. And just on a introducing standpoint, I'm 23. I've played wide receiver all my life, as well as on the defensive side as well. I've also played corner at my previous school at FIU and at St. Thomas. So I would say I'm a dual threat athlete in a sense. I could play both sides, but in my recruiting process, as soon as I entered the portal from FIU, I actually was coming in as a safety, but then they wanted to recruit me as a receiver, and from then it's just been fantastic. And obviously the my hands is really good when it comes down to running routes. I'm very crisp, and that's kind of one of the highlights of why they recruited me as a receiver. I did have some other options, but I found myself at Mercer University because it felt like home to me, and honestly, that that's kind of where I'm at here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know that there was like some coaching changes at FIU, and that was one of the reasons that drove you to the portal. What was that experience like? I think we hear a lot of coverage about the transfer portal and everything like that, but for you, what was that like in, kind of evaluating options before you finally found a home at Mercer?
So, with the coaching changes, it's something that happened twice at FIU. And some things like that are not, precedental. You don't really like to experience those things, especially if you're coming out of a NAIA school, which I did, which was St. Thomas University, which was prior. I was coming into this to FIU, trying to find, a role on the team. And with the coaching change, it's really hard to do that. So I've been used to coaching changes basically all my life because it did happen at Mercer University as well, because the coaches over there are at Navy and spread it out to other institutions
Wow.
the previous year. So now we're dealing with a whole different coaching staff, mostly from Lenore Ryan, which were D2 semifinalists as well. So it's crazy, but that portal process and how everything went down. Honestly, I entered the portal at a crazy time. A lot of people were trying to, find a home, and some of my teammates even entered the portal, and some of them didn't make it out out of there. And I was just fortunate enough to be able to have some opportunities left for me. And even in late in the game, I still was able to find a home and find somewhere to go, because honestly, it's a blessing.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. You mentioned not everybody kind of makes it out of the portal and finds a new home, so you're very fortunate and glad that you got to Mercer. You mentioned that you're planning and expecting to play to start and play significantly this year. Um, what has your football journey been like? If you could just share that, kind of it. I know you've mentioned in the past, right? You feel like you've had to work twice as hard to get to where you are. You mentioned, you've gone from the, St. Thomas to Florida International to now Mercer. But even, you're in your high school days, right? There was a time period where you took a gap off from playing football before kind of restarting and replaying in high school. When you reflect on your journey and you're getting ready for your senior year, what sort of emotions do you have?
Honestly, the emotions that I really have is just, you know, thinking about what I've went through, and it's like my process and my journey is totally different from everybody else, because I had coming out of D1 level, and I wanted to stay home because I was worried about like not being able to spend time as much with my family. And as a freshman, I think a lot of people can relate. It's really hard, trying to play somewhere, and you're not next to home and you're not next to your family. So that was one of the things for me. But when it came down to just my journey in general, I would say that I'm not gonna lie, I had to work really, really hard, because I was in Florida, like Florida sports, it's really, really hard to like be the number one guy on every other team. And like being, that top recruit and just trying to get offers, it was just such a pressure in the beginning of my career. And I've always had to like work twice as hard in order to even like get playing time, or to actually like be in a position to get on scholarship at a different school. So even when I got to St. Thomas was like an all freshman team, so everybody was fighting, just trying to get play time. I was fortunate enough to get 2 touchdowns under my name and be able to have at least some accolade in that sense of playing at a freshman year with a freshman team. And then I was there on scholarship, so then when I left and transferred out to FIU, I was a walk-on. You know how walk-ons usually, the process on that, basically when you're walking on, you have to kind of like find a role on the team, and hopefully you do get put on scholarship. But with the coaching changes, that's kind of makes everything a lot more tougher and more difficult. So when I was over there, it was just me working my butt off, trying to find some way or some role on the team. But with the coaching staff changes, it made everything difficult. But I still was like, you know what? There's something for CJ out there. I know that he's going to be able to do what he has to do. He's going to be great somewhere. So I never gave up. So then when I entered the portal, I took a chance, because I know that even though with coaching changes, you still be able to um, find a way to play or put yourself in a position to start, and obviously to compete at that high level. So when I entered the portal and I found like different institutions finding interest in me, I knew my ability was not being overlooked. So then when I went to Mercer University, I've just worked hard. I know there was guys before me that was over there, but I had to put myself in a position where at least all the efforts that I had from playing Pee Wee to like going to Mercer, going to St. Thomas University, to FIU, and then now to Mercer. I know all those efforts came to place, because now I could say that I am a competing starter at Mercer University, and now I could be able to compete at that high level and show the world. Because I don't think a lot of people know about me, but they will know about me soon. But one of the main things for me is just show them what I can do, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, what does that like training regimen look like to play football at a Division 1 level? And especially like if you're working twice as hard, what are some of those things that you don't have to go through the whole, the list, but what are a couple things that you would say you put some extra effort in to that to train?
So honestly, even when I first got here, and one of the main things that I noticed a lot of the players at my school, and what kind of like made me have like skill difference or any significant difference in my ability compared to theirs, it was just the amount of extra work that I did. So when we would have a lift, for example, I would come in like later times when there was open times to like stretch or to work on anything that I didn't know really, or the basically just anything that I didn't do well when I was during that lifting group, I came back in and I just worked on that and just kept working at it and kept working at it. Even when it came down to just on my free time during the weekend, I do go up to Atlanta for like a wide receiver specialist up there. His name is Top Shelf TJ. Basically over there he kind of trains all like NFL level, college level, and high school level receivers on like little aspects of detail when it comes down to breaks, starts, stanza starts, catching,
Yeah.
and just base every little specific detail on the receiver aspect. I basically just learned everything from him, went up there and did extra training over there on the weekends. And those are the little things that I do in order to make me have an advantage compared to other people. And a lot of people on my team don't really know that I do these things because I don't really try to brag about it too much. I just kind of like work in silence. That's one of the main things my main motto is the brand that I'm pushing as well, Silent Killers. Just kind of like pushing the working in silence and then achieving greatness and then achieving success. So that's one of the things that I really do on my extra time. Also, I do want to mention this too. One of my pregame, I would say like rituals in a sense is, and I've seen my teammates look at me weird for this too, and they probably relate to this. But I would go in like the shower area and just grab like tennis balls and like throw them into the to the wall and try to catch them. And then on top of it, I'll go right by my locker, grab one of the quarterback's balls, and just like throw it in the air while I'm sitting there, just catching them. Just focus on like just squeezing my fingertips, making sure I have strong hands ready before any game and stuff like that. Especially that was one of the things that I did for the spring game this year, and I did score on that spring game as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, those pregame rituals are definitely important to go through, and whatever gets those hands ready for the game, right? So you mentioned having strong hands. Obviously, as a receiver, as a safety, you need to be able to uh, do that and to make the plays. One of your we are in the NIL era, and so one of your NIL deals partnerships that you have is with um, uh, Prenom Elite, football gloves. And so I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about kind of how that partnership materialized, and because it seems like that's really like a match made in heaven for you.
Oh yeah, I would say Phenom Elite is like one of the top tier gloves out there. Honestly, they basically just when I put them on, like I feel like I've used multiple glove brands, and I would say they're one of the best because they just make sure that any throw or any catch I have is like basically caught at like the most I would say like most secure position possible because some gloves get little, I would say um, they won't have the stick that it usually supposed to have.
Mm.
And honestly, like when I use Phenom, I never lose that durability at all whatsoever. And that's why I kind of have so much success with them. I did use them during the spring game as well. So I definitely found a lot of success in that. Even when I do another extra work thing that I also do as well is there's a jug machine at my school. I usually use those gloves as well as for that. And it's just a great product, honestly. It's very comfortable. Um, it does the job what I needed to do, which is allow me to catch more efficiently, and it's very stylish too because they have this orange colored ones and they match the uniform of my school. So yeah, it could be a little fashionable on that standpoint. And I would suggest anybody to get a pair of gloves when they can, especially if you're a receiver DB. It's definitely going to improve your catching radius. Is also going to improve your catching efficiency as well.
Sure. And how did you gain like an NIL deal or become partners with them? Was that something that you reached out to them, or did they reach out to you? Did they have like an ambassador program? How did that sort of happen?
Basically, I would say that when it came down to like just getting that deal, my NIL like journey is very, very, very fresh. I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually had to like reach out to a lot of brands and try to like create some sort of agreement. So with Phenom, I guess they saw that I was invested in like a couple of deals such as Vertex, and they also saw that I was with Victory. So they were actually one of the companies that I didn't actually really have to reach out to. How I kind of like scored that, I basically explained to them my process and my my what I want and where I want to be in the future. And I just kind of also worked out the numbers with one of my closest coaches because he's also finance world. So we
Okay.
kind of crunched down number there on what to do and how that. They also love my content as well because I'm also to this entire NIL space and social media content creation. So they said that I'm doing really good for just starting out as a beginner because a lot of people struggle with content creation. So they said that this is something that could be big, and they definitely want me to be a part of the team. So I took the next steps, and that's where we're at today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You've mentioned you're very, kind of new on this NIL journey of, but you do have some partnerships, which is a testament, I think, to your effort. What is your biggest piece of advice for other athletes that are, either just centering with an NIL or something that you've learned that, you would be good advice to pass on?
I mean, honestly, I would say, especially if you're starting out, it doesn't have, don't worry about being with like the big teams or the big groups or the big companies. Start off with the small companies because honestly, they're the ones that grow over time and they bring a lot of longevity. Also, reach out to those companies as well. If you reach out to them and you show them your interest and you actually put in the effort to, actually do what you want, what you expect them to do, then you'll be put in a position where, hey, you're signed with this company and this company, and then 5, 10 years down the line, you're going to be put in a position where, hey, you might end up getting 3% part of the company because you've been, such a long member of that entire time, and you'll be put in a position where, sometimes being with the big companies, you put yourself in higher competition, and you have a lot of other athletes that you have to compete against, especially they're higher in content creation, they're higher in every other aspect of their athletic career, and you're just starting out. So remember, just start small. There's nothing wrong with starting small because you'll achieve the same exact success as the ones that are in the big league as well.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Transitioning a little bit, I know you mentioned that uh, your major is in electrical engineering. And I know that you mentioned, kind of in your family, it's either, pick a trade or pick a sport. And I feel like you're kind of in getting the best of both worlds, but how did you kind of land on electrical engineering?
So I've been a big fan of Iron Man's growing up. Like I would say when I was 5 years old, I was fascinated by his career set, how he went about things. Everybody, I would say like some are Marvel fans and DC fans, but I've always been a Marvel fan specifically with Iron Man because just on a technological standpoint, I just love how he tinkered, and it kind of connected to me too because I was a tinker growing up. And I just went about that path too. I wanted to research what his career was, what he do for a living, and once I did that, I knew that exactly what I wanted to do. So it pushed me to become an electrical engineer, and I have big aspirations for that. I do want to do 5, 10 years in the league and then retire at some point and actually put forward to a research center. Well, basically, it will be a company where it will build the newest technology and the newest medicine and so on and so forth. It would just be one of those big, I would say, research programs in the world. And honestly, one of the biggest, problems that I see in the world too is just the amount of fossil fuel that's being burned. And at some point in time, we're going to create the situation where global warming is going to be a huge effect on the world. And one of the main things for me is just the easiest solution for that is just a different energy source. So one of the main things that I want to look into and achieve at some point in my career, especially in the engineering career, is nuclear fusion, basically just encapsulating a sun inside a box which is contained by multiple amounts of metal and cooling at the same time in order to power, your everyday car, everyday home, or everyday facility. So that's one of the biggest goals that I have for myself in the engineering world. So yeah.
That's your end game basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm not don't know too much about, nuclear fusion and everything like that, but it sounds like you're on the right path and you've given it a lot of thought. So hopefully we can do that, find some alternative energy fuels. That'd be I'm sure that'd be fantastic and probably lucrative for your research center. You know, kind of a final question, just kind of looking again to this upcoming football season. You mentioned that one of the reasons you love football more than any other sport was it kind of allows you to have like a free, free mind, body, soul, um, type deal. Where does that peace come from when you're out on the field, when you're practicing, when you're playing in game? Where does that freedom and peace of mind like kind of come from? Where do you draw that from?
So honestly, I have a regimen that I kind of do, and what I do to get that piece or to be able to feel comfortable when I'm on the field, especially during a game. And it's just, the music that I listen to. I'm a big R&B fan, and I love to listen to like calm music or instrumental music before like I start a game and stuff like that. And also preparation as well. One of the biggest things for me is if you're prepared for something, you won't be stressed about it. And also my mental as well. I just kind of calm my mind and think about what are the goals that I want for myself, and I envision that and put that forth every single time, even before the night I go to sleep, before a game. I just envision myself doing whatever I dreamed about doing, and it just comes to life. So one of those things honestly just puts peace in my mind, because once I'm on the field, I know I'm prepared. I know I'm ready for anything that comes my way, and I've dreamed and envisioned myself to be in that position. So now from there should nothing go on. Everything's up to God. So that's why I kind of leave it at that, and then I push forward, and that's why I see the success that I do every day. And even when I go into a game, I see those successes as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's well articulated there. And you mentioned that the goal win the conference, go maybe further in the postseason this year. So you guys you're coming off an 8-3 season, regular season, I should say. Last year you won your playoff game in the first round before you losing to South Dakota State. I'm kind of curious because you also played at Ole Miss last year. That was your big non-conference game last year. I'm just kind of curious what those experiences were like playing like at an SEC school stadium at the Grove in Ole Miss, and then playing at South Dakota State, who ended up winning the FCS national championship last year. Playing them in the postseason.
Yeah, so when you're dealing with two different levels of football teams, you're dealing with the FCS level, well, high FCS level team, and then you're dealing with the SEC team, which is a bigger crowd, bigger stadium. And you
Yeah.
when you go into these different stadiums, you really see the big difference of crowd, and you also just see the experience of how everybody is just it's really really overwhelming. At the same time, it's very very exciting because you get to be a part of something amazing. Honestly, when at Ole Miss, it was crazy just seeing everything going on over there. I I honestly I was breathtaking because I do wish for my our stadium at Mercer to be that invigorating. However, it was just a great experience. Honestly, I at that moment in time, it was my kind of like my first time being at the school. So I didn't, particularly play at Ole Miss. However, the opportunity over there and just being able to see that and experience that, it was just really cool. But I know that when, going into the new season playing against Alabama, because I know that that's one of the biggest games for me this season. I know that that's going to be something even bigger than Ole Miss, because now I'm not just only seeing the experience, I'm gonna actually live it and be in
Right.
it, because I'm gonna be playing in that game and exceeding at that high level. And when dealing with South Dakota too, I have a chip on my shoulder, because we definitely want to beat him and wanted to beat him last year. But now I feel like our team is prepared and mentally, physically ready for that encounter again, and we will win that game for sure.
Oh yeah, that's great. I love the confidence. Kwame, thank you so much for joining. Where can people follow you and your journey, this season with your NIL deals and the content that you're creating and beyond?
So you guys could follow me on Instagram. My name on Instagram is CLAUMY.JF. And then you can also follow me on Twitter. I believe it's Claumy J. And then on top of that, you can also follow me on Snapchat as well. My name on Snapchat is Claumy F. I do all vlogging, all content creation over there because I am verified on that platform. So that's one of you guys should also check out over there. And yeah,
It's terrific. Thanks so much, CJ, for coming on and sharing some of your experiences, and best of luck this season at Mercer. Hopefully, you get be able to accomplish all your goals.
I thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.